Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Perla.
And my name is Janet Carr. Welcome to another episode of the Women in 3D Printing podcast. In spirit of the upcoming TIPE 3D Printing virtual conference taking place January 27th to 28th next year, 2021, we are going to be dedicating the first series to the TIPE. So you might be wondering, what is the TIPE? TIPE represents the tracks for the conference: technology, industry, people, and economics.
And as your hosts, we are so excited to share our conversations with these trailblazing women. The all female speaker lineup we have prepared for this conference is made up of women that have carved their careers in additive manufacturing and have inspired all of us. We can't wait to introduce them to you so you can get to know them before the conference.
So we invite you to hit that subscribe button, follow us on LinkedIn, and get to know the stories of these awe-inspiring women before the event.
We'd also like to give a shout out to our platinum sponsors, HP, Trumpf, Matter Hackers, GE Additive, and Dassault for making all of this even possible. Hello, everyone. So today's guest is Ashley Szofer. She is the Senior Director of External Relations and Strategic Brand Engagement at STEMconnector, and she's also the Director of Million Women Mentors. And on top of that, I've recently found out that she sings, which is awesome.
It's a hobby.
Thanks for coming on. I'm so excited to get into this.
Thank you so much, Christina. I'm so excited to be here.
Okay, so first question to start us off, what launched your career into STEM?
Thanks so much. Yeah, I think what's really exciting about working in STEM and with STEM professionals now is having an opportunity to showcase the importance of getting more women into STEM. A thing that we see all the time is that companies just do not have enough females going into STEM. And once they do go into STEM, they actually leave their careers at far higher rates than in any other fields. So even though my own personal background wasn't in STEM, I was an English teacher, I have worked in policy and communications. The idea of working in STEM and with STEM professionals was so important to me because this is the cutting edge of technology, right? This is the future, these STEM roles. And especially when you think about what's going on in the world right now, who are our heroes? Who are the people that are actually making change in communities? Creating vaccines, creating the technology that's going to keep us successful. Those are all STEM leaders. So I think what's so important is to have an opportunity not just to be in STEM and working with STEM professionals, but to make sure that women have a seat at that table. And it's such an important thing when you consider that women have different experiences. Women bring something different to the conversation, different expertise. And I think it's so important to know that women can pursue those roles. And so that's what really motivated me to be in this role, was to think about how I could use kind of my external engagement and communications experience to really support women in STEM careers, because there is so much opportunity there. And we don't want to lose these talented individuals to go into other fields when we know that there are ways that we could keep them in STEM.
That's a really interesting stat that I actually didn't know, but now that you're mentioning it, I can see the correlation. I've seen it happen. It's very interesting. So, what did you seek out this position, these two positions that you're in, or was it something that just came your way?
It honestly more came my way. So before this role, I was working at the University of Chicago Urban Education Institute. And so my work there really focused on helping underrepresented students get to and through college. So I've always been working on issues of equity, diversity, ensuring that we can eliminate barriers to opportunity for marginalized communities. And when I was deciding to look to my new role, I was thinking about, I knew I wanted to stay in something mission driven. I knew that I wanted to be focused on empowering people. And so when the opportunity came to me, it actually was through a network of my former CEO. But I at first said, well, I've never worked in STEM before. I don't have a STEM background. And they said, well, that's okay, because it's really just about how we're sharing these messages and what we can build together. So I was really excited about that, because I saw that there was clear opportunity here to do something. And especially, so Million Women Mentors came on completely incidentally, so to speak. I came on to do the external relations and build out our communications function at STEMconnector. And Million Women Mentors was just an initiative that we had as part of that work. And so when I started working, it just kind of coincidentally started that I was doing a lot of work with our Million Women Mentors program and ended up leading it. And it's been so exciting to lead it just because I've had so much opportunity to really figure out what the components have been. So Million Women Mentors it's a movement. And we use the word movement because it's not about a specific kind of mentoring or a specific program. It's really just about encouraging that role model and mentor space, regardless of background or what kind of STEM work it is, and helping those women get access to those opportunities through corporate leaders, through our volunteer network. And now I've been in a position to expand it globally. So we launched in Pakistan 2 years ago. We've launched in India this year earlier, and we're in the process of launching in Turkey. So it's been so exciting just to think about how, because this is not just a United States problem, as you well know. Women have these barriers to opportunity, sometimes in far greater quantities in some of these other regions.
Going on that theme a little bit of what you were starting to touch on, like what are some, I mean, there are a ton of challenges to overcome in STEM, but like what are challenges in STEM that you're looking to overcome in your work?
So some of the biggest challenges are, I think a biggest one is really this belief gap, this concept that women grow up hearing these messages, believing these stereotypes that there isn't a place for them in STEM, that this isn't a world for them. And you see it culturally all the time, the way that we depict scientists or technologists or any leaders in the STEM space, they're almost always male and always white. So if you are a young African-American woman on the south side of Chicago, you have probably never seen an engineer who looks like you. And so how do we combat that? So that's the biggest challenge that we're really working to solve, is just increasing those opportunities for women to see themselves in those careers, to gain their confidence, to know that they belong there, and then to better understand what the pathways are to get there. You know, women are more likely to be in college than men. How do we steer them towards these careers that are both lucrative but also meaningful? Because I think that's another big thing that we see between women and men, is women are more likely to say that they want to pursue a career that affects the world or works with people. And I think sometimes there are these ideas that working in STEM means you're sitting in a lab isolated all day, or that you're behind a computer, not working with people or not affecting change. So those are some of the stereotypes that we're really trying to break, just by putting real STEM leaders in front of women and girls and saying, this is my job, and here's the impact that I have in my community, and here's the impact that I have in the world. And like I said earlier, we are in such an incredible time to be doing that right now, because who are the people at the forefront of change? So let's show them what the real impact is, what the real jobs look like, and how they can get them. And I think that it works in a few ways, because by doing that, we're not only encouraging those young women and girls to see themselves, but we're helping the women who are in those careers use their skills and give back to the community, which we know is such an important thing. For companies, having opportunities for employee engagement and volunteering is hugely important right now. So giving them those opportunities to give back and to show that they are the role models and leaders is also really important. And then the other big piece of that is our work it's not women for women, it's also bringing men into those conversations, making sure that they are part of the cultures of inclusion, that they can serve as those mentors and role models as well, letting women know that they have a place, that their opinions and backgrounds are valued. And so that's really what we're really working on, is helping companies get a better sense of that, not just directly hiring people from your network, because we know that is a big issue that creates so many of these barriers, but like thinking outside the box, looking into overlooked talent pools, investing in different communities, working further down the pipeline. Those are all some of the challenges that we're really working to solve here.
Wow. Yeah. That is a big, I like that last point you touched on. Hiring within your network. That's the start of it all in itself. I've experienced it myself as a hiring manager, and you just see it all the time. And that's what just keeps this cycle going. Really important. Yeah.
The top who are making the hiring decisions, and you just have people who are going through their networks or their alma maters or whatever it is, you're going to keep seeing that. So and I think some of it's not that it's intentional. It's not that people are trying to be racist in their hiring or trying to be gendered in their hiring. It's just that people gravitate towards what they're comfortable with or what they're used to or what they've experienced. And they might say, well, we've always hired from this school or this community before. And it's helping them think about, how do you even branch out? How do you even find that overlooked talent? How do you even think differently about the questions that you're asking people or the way you're writing a job description? And so those are also some of the things that we're working with our companies to think about.
That's amazing, because that's been a lot of topic of conversation in 2020. And a lot of the conversation doesn't talk about the direct call to actions. And you just provided like 5.
That's what we're trying to do. Because I
That's
think that's
great.
the thing is, like you said, it's not that any company would ever say, no, we're fine just hiring white men for life and never being diverse. No company is going to say that. But it's what the action actually is. It's, what are you actually doing to diversify your C-suite? How are you bringing in a different pipeline? And I've experienced it myself. Sometimes it's hard when I'm planning an event and I'm like, it's really important that I have C-suite women speaking on this event. And I don't even have enough to reach out to because there are so few there. And I'm like,
Right.
so my inability to even have a female C-suite leader on this stage right now is just a reflection of the world right now and why this is a challenge. Especially then it's, trying to make sure, well, do I have Latinx populations represented? Do I have, and it's hard to do because they're not represented. So
Right.
you want to make sure it's genuine work, and you want to make sure you're working with these companies to say, sure, it's okay that you have a white male CEO, but what are you doing to make sure that your board is diverse? What are you doing to hire diverse talent, to ensure that the people who report to you are hiring diverse talent? And what are the actual action steps that you're putting in place to do that? And I think that's one of the good things about Million Women Mentors. It's not specifically about equity, though of course we do promote diversity and equity in general. It's specific to women, but we work with a company like, say, PepsiCo, who has said their company-wide, they have a goal of having 50% leadership positions as women worldwide. Well, working with Million Women Mentors is one of the action steps that they're taking to get there. So they have their employees serving as those role models. They're building their talent pipeline. They're creating opportunities for growth so that women stay with PepsiCo. And it's those pieces. It's like, okay, you can say this is a goal, but what are you actually doing to make sure you meet that meet that?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Wow. Great points. Great points. What, I mean, we kind of touched on this on the challenges question, but what are some specific future developments that you're excited to see develop in STEM?
So a lot of the challenges and the things that we're seeing in STEM are really around how are we making the shift to virtual? I mean, this is something that absolutely nobody expected, and it came, completely out of nowhere, and it has affected every industry, every person. And so we are seeing companies have to make this shift as they think about their talent investments. Okay, all of the traditional things that we were doing, our apprenticeship models, our bring people on site opportunities, our internships, those things are all being turned on their head. So what are we doing to actually ensure that companies are able to make that shift to virtual successfully? One of the big things we're focusing on is not letting companies just cancel internships, but think about how you can actually provide a valuable internship experience online. And it's so much more than just, okay, we'll have a couple of, projects that they can work on or classes that they can watch. It's, so much of those apprenticeships or internships are about networking and building a community and learning hands-on. So for example, we've talked to Abbott, who shifted their entire internship program virtually, and they created an app for networking and connections, and they have C-suite leaders actually giving presentations and talks, because a big part of that learning is seeing what else is happening across the company. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the biggest things that we're seeing is just there's opportunity in the virtual world that we didn't have before too. So certainly there's a lot of negative that has come with all of this. Health issues being, of course, the biggest one. But once you are thinking just about, okay, well, what can we do now? There's opportunity, like, we've talked at STEMconnector a lot about the geographic gap, this idea that you have areas where there is a lot of talent, but no job opportunities. And you have areas where companies are going, but they're flying in and moving in talent instead of investing in the local community. Well, now, if you can actually invest virtually, maybe some of that challenge is solved. And maybe it doesn't matter if somebody's working in West Virginia, if they can actually still be doing your job remotely. So I think it's figuring out what the actual opportunities for, growth are because of the virtual world, and then meeting them accordingly, because it's not all negative. I think there's a lot of opportunity for upskilling and reskilling in the virtual world. And I think one of the big things at Million Women Mentors in particular that we have focused on is shifting those mentor relationships virtual. Just because you aren't able to meet those people in person, mentoring is almost more important than ever, because so many of those opportunities where women naturally are in a position to have exposure to these role models and mentors and learning opportunities like school or after school programming are being taken away. So those mentor relationships are even more important. So that's kind of just one of the immediate things that we're seeing is how we can continue to make the virtual shift work, and how to build on that. And then, like I said, understanding too that these problems are not just things that you're facing in the United States or in any particular region, but they're global issues, especially pertaining to women. So how do we work collaboratively? One of our big things at Million Women Mentors is that no single company or no single program or movement is going to be the one that solves everything for women in STEM. It's really, how do we share our resources? What are we learning? How do we make the right connections and build the right networks so that collaboratively we're working toward this change? And I think that's been one of the exciting things about some of the global work is understanding you might have a certain idea of what's happening with women in Pakistan, and there are a lot of things that we need to talk about there. But also there are a lot of companies who said women's economic empowerment is very important to us here, and we are going to stand up and do this mentoring work, and we're going to learn from what other companies have done, and we're going to work with partners. So I think it's really that. It's helping understand various cultural contexts, but knowing that at the root of it, you have a similar challenge.
Absolutely. And it all stems around access. It's all about access. It's all about location. It's all about community, like you said. That's it. That's why Women Mentors exists, and that's why Women in 3D Printing exists.
Exactly. And I think one of the biggest things we're seeing with access now, especially with school and everything, is you're seeing greater divides because of access to technology, of access to, the right networks, access to, if you can create an education pod or anything like that. So having companies, I think one of the really exciting things about working with big companies is that these are the organizations that have the resources and the reach to make a difference. In a lot of my previous work, I was working with nonprofits, and it's always amazing to work with really great mission-driven organizations, but you can only have so much influence. When you're working with a PepsiCo or a Tata Consultancy Services or a BP, they have so much reach and so many employees that can actually be doing this work and sharing those resources and helping build that technology, that you can actually see a much greater shift in that difference and in building that equity if you can help them focus on the right places.
Wow. Yeah. They just need someone to help show them what the problem is if they haven't already discovered it. And that's exactly what you do.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do anyway.
Yeah. So, do you have 3 tips for someone that wants to get into STEM?
I would say the first one is just to make sure you feel confident in yourself. That STEM is not a gendered field. I mean, first of all, there's lots of STEM fields. So I think it's, trying to think about who you see yourself as, and finding those role models and mentors. If you don't have access to them in your community, are there programs or after school organizations or things that you can join where you're going to get some hands-on exposure and you're going to be able to build your confidence? Are there teachers that you can talk to say, I'm really interested in math, or I'm really interested in science. What more can I be doing to grow in that? So I think that's the first thing, is just really saying that you're going to do this and finding those next pathways. I think the next thing is just to not be deterred. When you see, if there is someone, a teacher or another student or someone who says, well, why would you be doing that? You're a girl. To not be deterred by that, to really fight those challenges and say, of course I can do this. And I think that I know many people who have, used that as motivation to say, watch me and I'm going to be strong. And I think that, if I was going to say a third thing, it's just to really not be afraid to reach out to people. So I think the thing that I've learned so much with Million Women Mentors is that for the most part, people are excited to help young people go into their careers. They are excited to share their resources and their networks. They want to work with you. They want to uplift each other. It is not about like, this is mine and I'm special because I did it. They want to share those things. So if you are a young woman or girl and you're on that career pathway and you're thinking about it and you have questions, find that person and reach out to them, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's through your school network, and don't be afraid, because chances are very low that that person's not going to help you.
I really like that. I've done a few of these podcast recordings, and in this last question, I see a recurring theme, and it's always about the people. It's always about that human connection that sparks the interest, or ignites the interest, rather. The interest is already sparked. But I think you touched on a really important part, just the human aspect and giving back and like paying it forward. I think that's so important, and it's the biggest barrier to entry, honestly.
It is. And like I said, I think the thing that people are afraid of is not realizing that people do want to help.
Yeah.
I think people are scared to reach out to strangers or to assume that they're not wanted or that they're being a pest. But I find that that's not really the case. And some of the most busy, successful women would be glad to drop anything and mentor somebody, and would be glad to help support them. And so I think, and that's the thing I've really learned, I might have had some predisposed ideas or whatever, even about the corporate sector before coming into this role of, oh, these people are so busy and this is, corporations aren't focused on this work. But now I have found so many people within these organizations who are all about the community and all about giving back and being those role models. And, like if you're working at Walmart, you have people that have a day job that's working in technology at Walmart, but who are also on the side really invested in the community. The people that we're working with at PepsiCo, their job isn't just to do women's engagement and mentoring at PepsiCo. They are STEM leaders. They are scientists. They are leading major operations in a STEM organization. And this is still so important to them that they're finding extra time to do it without getting anything financially in return, without anything specific. It's really, I think it's just actually so empowering to see how much this matters to people and how much people are willing to do when they're passionate about something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Ashley, for joining me today. I'm so excited to hear you speak at the TIPE conference.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. Really honored to be a part of it and love everything you guys are doing. And thank you so much again for talking to me today.
Thanks again for joining us at the Women in 3D Printing podcast TIPE Series. If you like the content, please hit that subscribe button, follow us on LinkedIn or other social media platforms.
We'd also like to give a shout out to our platinum sponsors, HP, Trump, GE Additive, Matter Hackers, and Dassault for making all of this even possible. So mark your calendars for January 27th to 28th next year in 2021.
And visit us at type3dprinting.com to save your seat. And feel free to drop us a line if you have any questions or feedback.